My name is Maris and I live in Atlanta. For a long time, I didn't realize how happy my life had become. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was made up of small, quiet moments that felt like a soft, steady song playing in the background of every day. Little things that made me smile. People who made my heart feel full. At the center of all of it is my husband, Alaric. He's the kind of man who can take a plain piece of wood and turn it into something beautiful. Something that makes people want to gather around it, to sit, to stay. I've watched him turn rough boards that feel like they belong in a home filled with laughter. His hands tell their own story. Strong and worn from years of carving and sanding, but gentle in the ways that matter. Like when he holds me on the days I feel too heavy inside. We met in the kind of way that almost feels written. It was one of those brutally hot Georgia afternoons. The kind where the air doesn't move and the pavement seems to shimmer. My old sedan, faithful for years, finally gave up on me. The radiator blew. Steam out from under the hood while I stood there, frustrated and completely stuck. Alaric happened to be nearby dropping off shelves at the auto shop next door. He saw me standing there and walked over without hesitation. Knelt down by the car, took one look and made a joke about it having a bad attitude. I laughed even though I was embarrassed. And then he fixed it. Just like that. By the time I drove away, something had already shifted. I didn't realize it then, but my heart had already started paying attention. That was 6 summers ago. Now he's my husband. In our neighborhood, Alaric's work has a quiet reputation. People talk about it without really saying it out loud. Families, business owners, even the occasional local celebrity seek him out to build something meaningful for their spaces. And every time I feel proud. Not just because of the recognition he gets, but because I see the process. I see how something raw and unfinished becomes something people cherish. I've always had my own way of seeing the world, too. Since I was a kid, I've loved capturing moments. Sunsets, flowers, my friends laughing, my family when they weren't paying attention. Sometimes it was the smallest things. Light hitting a puddle just right or a bird pausing on a fence. Things most people would walk past. To me, they felt important. Like they deserved to be remembered. But growing up, I lived in the shadow of my older sister Vesper. She was everything people admired. Brilliant, confident, the kind of person who excelled at everything she tried. Straight A's, debate team star, the one everyone pointed to with pride. Me, I was the quiet one. The one behind the camera, never quite sure if what I saw or what I created really mattered. Took time, but I found my way. I turned that quiet love for capturing moments into something real, something steady. Now I'm a wedding photographer here in Atlanta. I spend my days documenting love stories. Real ones. Messy, emotional, beautiful in ways that don't need perfection. And somewhere along the way, I realized something I wish I had known much earlier. There's more than one way to shine. And sometimes the quieter light lasts longer. That I've always loved capturing happiness. Real unfiltered joy. The kind you see in a couple's smile, in a quiet glance, in the way people hold each other when they think no one's watching. Last spring I took a big step. I rented a small studio downtown. It wasn't huge, but it had wide windows that let sunlight pour in, and a cozy corner where I could sit for hours editing photos. Felt like mine in a way nothing else ever had. Slowly my calendar started filling up. Weddings, engagement shoots, couples trusting me with their most important moments. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was stepping out of Vesper's shadow. Then one morning, without warning, she walked into my studio. The sharp click of her designer heels echoed against the floor before I even saw her. And when I did, she was smiling, but it wasn't warmth. It was something colder. "Oh, Maris," she said lightly. "Still playing with your little camera? I thought you'd be doing something more important by now." I felt the sting, but I swallowed it. "It's not just a hobby, Vesper," I said, forcing a calm smile. "I just signed a contract with the Grand Peachtree Hotel for their wedding season." For a split second, something flickered in her eyes. Jealousy, maybe. But it vanished just as quickly. "How cute," she said with a soft laugh. "Lucian and I were just talking about how important polished visuals are in the corporate world. You know, real professional standards." She drifted around my studio, flipping through albums, inspecting everything like she was looking for flaws and finding them even when they weren't there. I should have known. Vesper never showed up without a reason. A week later, everything I had built felt like it collapsed overnight. I got an email from the hotel. Short, polite, final. They were canceling my contract. No clear explanation. Just a vague note about reassessing vendor choices. My stomach dropped. That contract wasn't just another job. It was the opportunity. The one that could have put my name on the map in Atlanta. I called Lyra immediately. She met me for coffee, her face already tight with anger. Maris, she said, leaning forward. It was Vesper. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She called our marketing director. Said hiring you as low-quality photos and claimed they were yours. My hands started shaking around my mug. She did what? That's not all, Lyra added. She pushed another photographer, Celine. Said she had a fresher style. Felt like something punched straight through me. This wasn't just criticism. This was sabotage. That night I sat alone in my office staring at my now empty calendar. All that work. All those steps forward. Gone. Tears burned my eyes, but I couldn't even cry properly. It just felt hollow. Then Alaric came in. He still had sawdust on his boots from the workshop. He took one look at me and immediately softened. Hey, sunshine, he said, gently, kneeling beside me. Why does my favorite artist look so lost? And just like that I broke. I told him everything. Every word. Every detail. He didn't interrupt. He just listened, holding my hand steady and warm. When I finished, he didn't hesitate. We'll fix this. Simple. Certain. He pulled out his phone. Dorian knows people. Dorian, Alaric's mentor, was the kind of man who had built not just furniture, but relationships everywhere he went. And those relationships mattered. By the end of the week, things started shifting. Then they changed completely. My contract wasn't just reinstated. The hotel added 2 more weddings to my schedule after reviewing my actual portfolio. Lyra made sure the truth spread fast through the event planning world. Your sister doesn't understand how small this industry is, she told me over lunch. People talk. And they're not talking kindly about her. A few days later, Celine came to my studio. She looked nervous. Guilty. Maris, I didn't know, she said, showing me messages from Vesper. Texts outlining everything. The fake critiques, the push to replace me, the plan to make it look legitimate. Celine's voice shook. I was just trying to build something for my kid. I didn't mean to hurt you. And in that moment I saw the truth. She wasn't my enemy. She was just another piece in Vesper's game. I hugged her. We'll work together someday, I told her. And I meant it. That evening, Alaric came home with a grin and 3 new client contracts in his hand. Turns out, he said with a wink, carpenters know a lot of people who need good photographers. And just like that, everything Vesper tried to take from me came back stronger. Dorian's clients loved my work too. And suddenly my calendar wasn't just full. It was thriving. I wrapped my arms around Alaric, my heart overflowing. With him and Lyra by my side, I felt unstoppable. Whatever Vesper had tried to tear down, I could rebuild. Stronger than before. 2 weeks later, our annual family barbecue rolled around. It was a long-standing tradition. Everyone gathered in our uncle's big backyard just outside Atlanta. The air smelled like grilled ribs and honeysuckle, and for a while everything felt easy. Then Vesper and Lucian arrived. They pulled up in a shiny new SUV that practically screamed money. And of course Vesper made sure everyone noticed. Lucian's been doing amazing at the hospital, she announced, loudly flipping her hair. We're even thinking about buying a beach house. You know, connections matter. Our cousin tried to keep things light and turned to Alaric. Hey, heard you landed a big commission. A restaurant downtown, right? Before Alaric could answer, Vesper cut in with a smirk. Oh, you're still working with wood? I thought you'd move on to something more professional. Lucian knows people in hospital admin. Maybe he could help you get a real job. The table went quiet. I saw Alaric's jaw tighten, his rough fingers gripping his fork. But he stayed calm. It's honest work, Vesper, he said evenly. And I love what I do. Dorian, sitting across from us, leaned forward proudly. He just designed a custom bar for a hotel. Saved them thousands fixing a mistake their experts missed. Vesper rolled her eyes. How quaint. Lucian shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable. He tried to change the subject, mentioning a conference in Chicago he had to miss. Vesper snapped her head toward him. What do you mean you had to miss it? He loosened his tie. We'll talk later. The conversation moved on, but I noticed the tension. Lucian kept checking his phone, his face growing tighter with every glance. And in that moment, I realized something important. No matter how hard Vesper tried to tear me down, my life was still full of love, support, and real happiness. Alaric loved me. My friends believed in me. And my work, it mattered. She couldn't take that away. After dessert, Vesper stood abruptly. We're leaving early. Lucian has surgery tomorrow, she said, jingling her keys like it proved something. But as they walked toward their SUV, a loud grinding noise cut through the yard. The car jerked forward, then stopped. The engine sputtered, wheezing like it was choking. This is ridiculous. Vesper snapped. Lucian called the dealer. They're closed, he said tiredly. It's Sunday. She stomped her foot, kicking up dust. We are not standing here all night. From the porch, Alaric caught Dorian's eye. They exchanged a quiet look, both knowing this was about to turn into a mess. Vesper's voice kept rising, blaming Lucian, blaming the car, blaming everything. I watched her, feeling a strange mix of anger and pity. She had spent her whole life trying to look perfect. And now that perfect image was cracking right in front of everyone. Alaric stepped forward calmly. Need a ride? I can have someone from the workshop check the SUV tomorrow. Vesper spun around, furious. We are not letting some woodworker touch our car. We'll wait for professionals. Lyra leaned toward me, whispering with a grin. Karma has a fast engine. I couldn't help but smile. We went back inside, back to laughter and food, leaving Vesper and Lucian arguing in the driveway. But the story didn't end there. The next morning my phone rang. It was Lucian. His voice sounded tired, almost defeated. Maris, about the SUV. The dealership can't take it for a week. I've got surgeries lined up and Vesper's not handling it well. Can Alaric help? Alaric, standing nearby, didn't hesitate. Bring it to Dorian's workshop, he said. I'll take care of it. An hour later, Vesper stormed into the shop. Her polished, perfect image was gone. She looked exhausted, frustrated. This is ridiculous, she snapped, glaring at the SUV on the lift. Do you even know how much this car costs? From the waiting area, Celine raised an eyebrow. More than you can maintain, apparently, she said dryly. Alaric slid out from under the vehicle, wiping his hands. Your transmission's gone, he said calmly. And your brakes are barely holding. Vesper scoffed. When was the last time it was serviced? Lucian handles that, she added quickly. Lucian stepped forward, face flushed. I've been meaning to tell you. He hesitated. The hospital's cutting budgets. And with the house payments, I didn't get the promotion. Vesper froze. What do you mean you didn't get it? She asked, her voice tightening. Lucian exhaled slowly. That conference in Chicago. He looked down. It wasn't a conference. It was a job interview. We're in trouble, Vesper. The entire workshop went silent. Vesper's face drained of color, and for the first time, the perfect image she had built around herself began to crack. We'll just buy a new car, she said, but her voice trembled. With what? Lucian snapped, the frustration finally breaking through. The house is already stretched to the limit. You've been spending way too much. She turned sharply toward Alaric, suspicion flashing in her eyes. This is a scam, isn't it? You're just a carpenter. Before Alaric could respond, Dorian stepped forward, arms crossed. Alaric is certified to work on high-end vehicles, he said firmly. One of only 3 people in Georgia with that level of training. Celine added from the waiting area, calm but pointed. Hospital board members bring their cars here. Dr. Fenwick trusted him with his Range Rover just last week. Lucian didn't hesitate. He grabbed Alaric's arm. Can you fix it? I can't miss my surgeries. Alaric nodded. I can, but the parts won't be cheap, and it'll take a few days to do it properly. Lucian pulled out his credit card immediately, ignoring Vesper's protests. She stood there, speechless, as the people around her quietly watched everything fall apart. I'll wait outside, she muttered, turning quickly and walking out. Celine called after her with a small smirk. Good luck. Your car's not going anywhere. Over the next 3 days, Alaric worked late into the night, carefully repairing the SUV. One evening, he showed me the worn-out parts, rusted, neglected, barely holding together. This car says everything, he told me quietly. They've been living beyond their truth. Lucian's a good doctor, but Vesper pushed them into a life they couldn't sustain. And just like that, the truth started spreading. Atlanta is smaller than people think. Lyra called me one afternoon, barely able to contain her excitement. Vesper skipped the hospital charity meeting, she said. Everyone's talking. They found out Lucian never got that promotion. Celine stopped by my studio later with more news. She's been calling people, trying to fix her image, she said. But no one's buying it anymore. Even Dr. Fenwick reached out, this time asking for Alaric's contact. The hospital wanted him for a full maintenance contract. A week later, there was a knock at my door. It was Vesper. But she didn't look like herself. No designer clothes. No perfect hair. Just a tired woman in a plain sweater, sitting stiffly on my couch. I guess you're happy, she said bitterly. Lucian wants to sell the house, she added, her voice tight. We have to live within our means now. And the hospital wives. She paused, swallowing hard. They don't even talk to me anymore. I leaned forward, calm but steady. That's not my doing, Vesper. She twisted her wedding ring, staring at nothing. Lucian showed me the repair bill, she said after a moment. Alaric charged us half of what the dealership would have. Her voice softened slightly. He did good work. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, she was going to apologize. But then she straightened. I'm not here to apologize, she said. I need a favor. I smiled politely. My schedule is full. I paused, then added, but I recently hired an assistant. Celine might be available. Vesper nodded stiffly, defeated. She left in a used Toyota. Not even close to the flashy SUV she once showed off. That evening, Alaric pulled into our driveway in his work truck, now with a brand new logo on the side. Dorian's letting me run the hospital contract, he said with a grin. We're hiring 2 more guys. We celebrated that night. Just us, Lyra, and Celine. Pizza, laughter, and the kind of happiness you don't have to prove to anyone. Lyra took a sip of her soda and said, Lucian took that Chicago job. I raised an eyebrow. Vesper has a choice now, she continued. Go with him and live a normal life, or stay here alone. Celine shrugged lightly. Some people build their own traps, she said. You just have to let them fall. Later, as the sun dipped behind the Atlanta skyline, Alaric squeezed my hand. We didn't need luxury cars. We didn't need beach houses. We had something better. Honest work, real friendships, and love that didn't need to show off. My business was growing. New clients were calling every day, thanks to Alaric's connections and Lyra's loyalty. Vesper tried to break me. She tried to take what I built. But in the end, I didn't just survive it. I became stronger because of it. And for the first time, I wasn't standing in anyone's shadow. I was exactly where I was meant to be.